at home. We don't need no violence, got no time for all you radicals. Screw your status quo, we're not animals. I won't kneel for the anthem, cause the flag is what I'm standing for. In America, your freedom ain't free. In America, got soldiers dying overseas. So America, you say what we believe. My America, I won't ever take a knee. Our freedom is the reason you can disrespect our flag. If my stars and stripes offend you, then I'll help you back your bags. America.
Good evening, everybody. You are right where you're supposed to be. You are right at the corner of church and state, where there is no separation, and I am one of your hosts. I am the bearded weirdo, Nolan Bryan, coming at you loud and proud as I always do, with this magnificence upon my face. And sitting...
ridiculousness on your head.
And the person to my side is my best friend, Compadre, brother at arms, and also happens to be my pastor. The one, the only, Pastor Gary Stiles. How are you doing today, brother?
It is Monday.
Yes, it is.
That's about all I got to say about it.
That's all you got to say about that?
That's all I got to say about it. It's Monday. Everybody hates Mondays. I mean, not generally. I mean, I don't hate Monday, but like I look forward to this Monday because it's a fun way to end the day. But you know, it's the start of the week. It is what it is.
Hey, I had a good weekend. Had good fun with the kids. All the stuff going on.
I got a kielbasa.
Yes, you did. Brother over here takes a yearly trip to go get the
Shenandoah, PA.
The great meat.
Look, we don't have sponsors, but I'll definitely tell everybody Kovalonics, Shenandoah, PA, best kielbasa. I would probably say in the nation. I wouldn't compare it up into the likes of Poland, so because they probably have it,
Just a little better?
Maybe.
Since they invented it?
I haven't been there, so I don't know. But I'm just saying, but if you're looking for really good Polish delicacies, they have everything, and quite honest, it's the best. It's the best that I have had.
Dude, it is very, very good. But we're not here to talk about kielbasa.
No.
We're not even here to talk about Poland, Ukraine, Russia.
No.
That's not what we're here to talk about either.
Nope.
We are here to talk about a subject that, I'm sorry, if you are a snowflake who thinks that, we are a duo that has got white privilege, we're straight men, and Christians, and therefore need to be hated by all, you are going to hate this episode. Why? Because the title of it is Systemic Racism Was Dead in the 90s. That's right, everybody. Racism was dead. So why do we have it now?
Well, all right. So let's start it off with the reason why this came into our laundry list of what we were discussing when we were going through our episode log for the season. And when this one came up, it was really dealing with the fact that currently today, the way the word works is not the way it is defined. Right? So the definition of racism is a belief that a race is fundamentally, or a belief that race is a fundamental determinant of human traits and capacities that racial differences produce an inherent superiority of a particular race. So this is dealing with, simplistically speaking, you believe a race is far superior than other races. Okay? Nazi Germany, the Nazi race or the Aryan race, believed that they were far superior than any other race, and those races were then subjugated or murdered because of their inferiority. They were racist. So if you were going to say currently any movement of Nazism today would be a form of technical racism.
Yes. Now, I do have a quick question.
Yes.
What's that definition found in your 1820?
No, because the word didn't exist then.
Oh, yeah, that's right. It's a relatively new term. Oh, okay.
But
wait. What were all these isms and ists called before that?
Wow.
Hate.
Yeah, I mean, generally
simple.
speaking. But here's the thing. The problem with it, and the reason why we really deemed it that appropriateness of the subject today, and bringing it up today, is really more to do with the fact that the word is not used appropriately. All right, so we're going to do a little role playing, okay? You're going to be, I'll be the liberal.
You'll be the liberal?
I'll be the
okay.
You do a good job, but I'm gonna take a swing at it this time.
Okay.
So I'm going to be the liberal socialite.
Okay.
Socialite.
SJW, gotcha.
Okay, and I'm not gonna wear my hat, but you get the drift.
Yes.
But
wait, you don't have one of those hats?
No.
You didn't get one for the march?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
But you get to be our conservative, right-wing, white supremacist. I'm already starting. I'm getting into
See
character.
Kyle.
Yeah, I'm getting into character. Did you see how I did that?
Yeah.
You and your white privilege.
White privilege.
Yes.
Oh.
Misogynist, cis white male. So
Okay.
I'm doing a good job.
I'm a cis?
I'm doing a good job.
I'm a cis?
I don't know. I'm just using the terms that
Okay.
they use.
Okay. So wait. Were you born in America?
Why do you hate me, you racist?
No. Why?
You're racist. Why are you being a racist?
Okay. Were you born in America?
Why are you talking about this country like that?
Oh, because.
I mean, yes, you're a patriot, aren't you?
Oh, yes.
Oh, you're a racist. See how they use it? It doesn't make sense. They just use the word because they don't agree with you.
Oh, because they use the word because it's a touchy subject. It invokes emotion,
Well,
and because it invokes emotion, now any discourse that could be done via debate or discussion is now thrown out the window because they've now brought emotion into it, and you're a racist.
Well, it's either one of two categories. It's either one, they're not intelligent enough to actually hold the conversation, so they use the R word as a way of
But they've
cudgeling
gone to
you.
college.
Well, that's not really testimony of actual education anymore. That's the bastion of wokeism now. But in sincerity, they either use it to cudgel you with it to basically get you to shut up, right? Because they
Yep.
don't want to hear your viewpoint, so they just figure this is a way to get you to shut up. Or the secondary opinion, and the one that I tend to believe is more accurate, is that they don't actually know what the word means.
Well, this
Okay?
is true.
They don't know
That
the
would
word
mean that they would have to read facts.
So what they see it as is it's prejudice, right? So they use an alternative definition, which is actually in the Webster's definition, but it's like the third definition of it, is a form of prejudice. And so what they now deemed as prejudice is anything that they don't agree with is prejudice. So if you say something that I don't agree with you, that's a prejudice that you're pushing upon me. I can now call you a racist.
It's that non-existent thing called hate speech.
Right. So this is why the subject came up, and this is why we're going to talk about it today. Because the reality of it is as my brother had already said, we as living beings who were born in the '80s, right?
Yep.
Do we really want to throw our ages out there?
82, baby.
All right. So yeah, the lovely year of '82, and we lived through most of the '80s, and we grew up in the large portion of our educational youth came through in the '90s,
Yes.
all the way up to 2001 when we graduated from high school. So we were really being, as the quote-unquote indoctrination camps, the high school era of our time, when we're being taught these principles. You would think if racism was still really prevalent today,
We would have been taught it.
we would have been taught it, and especially if it was going to be, and I love this argument too, well, you don't get taught that in school, you get taught that at home from your parents. Okay, so then our parents would then have been racist, right? Would
Yep.
have raised us to be racist, which
Well,
means,
they're boomers. So
which means we would have gone into school as racist, right?
Yep.
And so,
And we would have spread our racism like a disease.
correct. So the reason why we can, as living beings, say racism died in the '90s is because, well, we lived through the '90s, and so it's not going to be completely anecdotal, but there's going to be a lot of
Yes,
holes that
there's-
you're going to have to understand, because the way to find facts, especially on this particular subject, is difficult because it's not something that you can literally go around and find fact checkers. Like, all right, so we're going to do a poll in a mall and go up to somebody and go, so, sir, are you a racist? No, okay, that's great. Do you hate black people? No, okay, you like black people. You are black. Okay, that's great. Do you hate Hispanic people? Okay, no, you don't hate Hispanic. Do you hate Asian people? No, you don't hate Asian people. Okay.
Why are you wearing your head
use
backwards?
the N-word? No, you do use the N-word. Okay, but you're black. Okay, so that's okay. But like, you understand? Like, you can't track poll racism. Like, how could you actually poll it? It's impossible.
At the same time, the places that would normally do these like studies or whatever are the colleges. The same places that are infecting the minds of people going to college with CRT and everything else. It's saying that all white people.
Oh, you mean the racist teaching?
Yes, the
They're
racist
actually
teaching.
teaching.
Yep. So they obviously they're not going to do any research on this. They're not going to do a study because that would then prove them to be wrong.
Or they'll bend the facts into their own way, as they
No,
do, but
no.
All right, so
you mean MSNBC wouldn't bend it on them?
hey, you better watch it. They're getting the redhead from Child's Play.
Oh, they're getting the redhead. They're getting the poor man's peppermint patty.
Oh, that's great. Yes. And if you're not aware, the news broke. Jen Psaki is leaving the Biden administration.
Or the other nickname, Circle Around Psaki. Let's just circle around.
Circle back.
Circle back Psaki. That's
so. But yeah. So that's the subject today. We're gonna delve in, and I think you brought it up earlier in our previous discussion. The best analyzing fact to how you can determine whether or not something is true, right? If somebody makes a claim, especially about a nation.
Oh yeah.
Like if somebody were to say, oh well, America has always been racist and it's injected with systemic racism, right? All you have to do is take a good look at the pop culture of the nation.
Exactly.
If you look at the pop culture, you will see what is reflecting of the actual things that are going on in the nation. So I think that's a good starting point.
Yeah, I mean,
we got some other points.
Let's think about this for a second. If we were really a racist country in the 90s, if we've always been a racist country, then why in the 90s were top shows like Family Matters, top sitcoms, Family Matters, Hanging with Mr. Cooper, Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, The Cosby Show before we found out about
Cosby. Well, I mean, Cosby was probably doing that during the Cosby Show, but nobody knew.
He was known as America's dad back then.
Yeah.
A black man was known as America's dad.
Cosby sweaters.
If America was racist, we would not be letting a black man be America's dad.
Yep.
I mean, pure and simple.
And that's just the television world. You had some of the best, some really, really great actors in the movie industry: Samuel L. Jackson, Denzel Washington,
Morgan
Freeman,
Eddie Murphy,
Blade,
Wesley
Snipes.
You
Before
had
the tax fraud.
Right? I mean, you had some of the greatest actors getting some of the best movies. And again, if we were a racist nation,
they wouldn't have made money because the predominantly white nation of America, right, wouldn't have gone to the theaters to watch these people and support their actual successes.
And now you hear...
You wouldn't have had those black sitcoms, predominantly black casted, right, have the best ratings.
I mean, come on,
compared to other shows.
One of the best shows ever, comedic show.
Oh yeah, 100%.
To ever be around that was an all-black cast until later on In Living Color.
That is correct.
In Living Color. Absolutely fantastic. All black comedians, all black sketches, until later they brought in Jim Carrey and an Asian dude that nobody can remember. But these are the things that if a country that is, we'll just throw a number out. I mean, let's say is only a third black. If
I get that number for you.
Keep going. Yeah, he's going to get the actual number. But the percentage, if they were so much less than us in people grouping, then they wouldn't have been able to have these #1 shows on television. Because if you're truly racist, you're not watching anything that has to do with another race. You're not giving them any of your money, your time, your effort, whatever. So again, how can you say that?
Do you want current?
Well, what is?
I mean, I'm pretty sure it would have been less than. So we could say it was less than this. But currently, 12.6% of the American population is black.
Okay.
16.9% is Hispanic, FYI. And 62% of the population is white.
Yes. So again, with that mass majority, and it would have been more white than there are now.
Yes.
With that being the case, we wouldn't be viewing that. We wouldn't be viewing comedians on stage on BET, Def Jam, Def Comedy Jam. Def Comedy Jam. We loved watching it.
Yeah, I mean, some of the biggest moves of hip hop industry came out of the 90s.
Yes.
Dr. Dre, Snoop Dogg,
Tupac, Biggie.
Yep.
P. Diddy.
P. Diddy.
Yep.
You had
Wu-Tang.
Yeah, the whole Wu-Tang Clan.
Yep.
We had all these different things going on. And nowadays, if you listen to rap music, you're appropriating culture. But back in the 90s, you had Aerosmith doing songs with Run DMC, Busta Rhymes.
Yep.
You had
Jay-Z.
P. Diddy Combs doing songs with another rock group. I always forget who it was, to redo All About the Benjamins. You had Jay-Z doing a song with Linkin Park. You had like all these things going on in the 90s, and it's like, if there was truly racism, systemic racism in this country, not only would the system known as the music industry not allow the mixing of music, but it also wouldn't have been bought.
It wouldn't have been sold. Yeah, it would have been sold, but it wouldn't have been purchased, and it wouldn't have done well. And the fact is that you see, if you and you could look it up and go track those artists, those shows, those actors, and you can see their success is boomed in the 90s. They had the most success that they've ever had, with maybe the exception of Jay-Z. But for the most part,
he was just starting out.
He was just getting started. But for the most part, the music industry, the film industry, the TV industry.
I mean, you had Oprah Winfrey becoming not only the richest and most powerful black woman, but the richest and most powerful woman. Period. Okay, and she's a black woman who did it all herself. Yep. She started in a low budget newsroom and grew to what she is now. Again, if she was,
everybody gets a car.
Everybody gets a car. You get a car. You get a car. You get a car. But
you don't become that. You don't become that mean unless, like, and think about that. That is a very well sought meme. Okay, in today's world, right?
Yeah.
And I don't even think the community recognizes the reality of what that meme is. Like, here you have a very wealthy, super successful black businesswoman, right? Who brought herself up from nothing to something to become the most wealthiest woman in the U.S., possibly even other nations. I don't even know if I would go world, but I don't think she's richer than the Queen, but whatever. But still.
Queen's not rich.
But you still have a person who has amassed so much wealth that she has a TV show with a bunch of people who are probably middle class who all received a free car from her pocketbook to them.
Yep. Or a free house, or a free this, or a free that.
Where can you say that that's systemic racism? I don't understand. Like, if it was a systemic racist nation, that woman would not be able to acquire that much wealth.
She wouldn't even have been on TV like that.
Correct.
She wouldn't have been in daytime. I mean,
she wouldn't have had the pivotal time slots that she had. She wouldn't have been able to, like,
people rushed home from work to go see her on TV.
What people don't understand is what systemic racism literally means is that you are not going to be afforded things because of your race.
The system is ultimately against you.
The system is rigged against you, right? So that means that the person who is in control, who's conducting the systemic racism, which according to the left-wing media would like to state that you being white are the systemic racist. Well, that's what CRT teaches. Right.
Well, yeah, they teach the lie that, slavery started in 1619, and it did, but it wasn't black slaves, it was Irish slaves. But details.
But the point of it is that when you're talking about the racism today, and what you're trying to say is racism or systemic racism, it's not even close. It doesn't even touch a candle, because you're not being oppressed, you're not being held back, you're not being treated poorly, differently, or any other way based solely on the color of your skin. You're given every single bit of freedom, opportunity, and luxury that every other person or citizen in this country has.
And you know what? You know who else knows this? Bo knows. Bo knows baseball. Bo knows football.
Bo Jackson.
Bo Jackson. Mike Tyson as a boxer. Everybody knew him. He was on video games.
Michael Jordan
amassed everything.
Okay.
All right, we're getting
keep going.
Michael Jordan was like the top of the game. Everybody was wearing his sneakers. Everybody, and this was a man that never got involved in politics, because when they asked him about it, he was like, Republicans buy sneakers too. Bo Jackson played baseball and football. I mean, you had Deion Sanders. You had the best of the best athletes all the way around, and majority of them black.
Okay,
and if we really cared about that, we would go back to segregating leagues, but we've already abolished that, and we enjoy watching a sport. We don't care about their skin color. The only reason that we're pointing it out right now is to show you how messed up today's media has been to say that, we're just a racist nation. The fact of the matter is that it at one point, racism was gone.
It did.
And are you going to...
Yeah, systemic racism, right? Because it's one thing to say, okay, this is what racism is, but we're saying systemic racism. So what does that mean? All right, policies and practices. So that means this is a fundamental system, right, that's being built around the concept or the idea of racism, right, that exists throughout a whole society, right, or organization, and that result in and support continued unfair advantage to some people and unfair or harmful treatment of others based on race. Now, if you are going to say systemic racism still exists today, then you go back to that percentage, right? That means that the 60% majority of the country, white people, are somehow individually or cumulatively oppressing the minority races, the black, Hispanic, Asian parts of the United States.
And I'll put it to you this way, another one, and this isn't really talking about the 90s, but if it was really so racist and so horrible to be here as a minority, why are they flocking here in like just absolute
caravans?
At
the
just
southern border?
massive numbers. Not just caravans, but they're flying and they all want to stay. The Canadians want to come down here that don't want to be up here no more. Yeah. The Spanish and everybody down in Mexico. It's so bad that they won't let them fly in, so they fly down to Mexico and walk in up through Mexico.
And not only that, but then you could even throw in maybe like your religious affiliations, right? So, okay, well, you're anti-Muslim. Well, do you understand that even Muslim people are allowed to come into this country and they're able to worship
we're
in this country?
We're just against them using their religion to change the policies of this country.
Right, you're not allowed to enforce Sharia law.
Our Sharia law is anti-American. Sharia law is traitorous. And here's the other thing: when you sit there and talk about religious affiliations. That was another thing that happened in the 90s.
Which isn't a race, by the way, just so you're aware. Yeah. I want to point it out, but it's not a race.
Being Muslim is not but when it comes to religious, again, the black churches, the Korean churches, even the mosques and everything else, in the 90s there was a concerted effort to bring everybody together, whether you agreed or didn't. They had huge events down in D.C. of pastors getting together, of different religious leaders getting together, whether they agreed or not, and shaking hands, hugging, and getting rid of the divisional walls. I mean, those of you who may not remember, I don't know what kind of church you grew up in, but one of the biggest songs in the 90s when it came to a worship song was Break Dividing Walls. Mm-hmm. Because they were breaking
They're
walls.
Going to go, We Are the World.
Well, no, that's not a worship song. We Are the World with Stevie Wonder. Yes. But I mean, that's it. But I mean, still even there. Again, Stevie Wonder writes a song, gets everybody together from all walks of life. They didn't even have to be music artists. There's some of them were TV people, comedians, whatever, and all singing. Again, if this was a racist country, that song wouldn't have made it on the charts.
What about Michael?
What about Michael? Those are worms, Michael.
No, Michael.
Okay, Michael Jackson.
Michael Jackson, right?
I mean, yeah. I mean, he had. Sorry.
I mean, no, but and again, leaving his personal life aside, right, which you can attribute to a very abusive father, right?
Yes.
You can see the lines, and the whole family has been abused by the father. Okay, that's fine, but not talking about that specific point, but look at the success that man made.
Well, him and his sister Janet as well.
But Michael genuinely is still the top.
He's the king of pop.
He is the king. There's nobody who has more sales than him. And think about that. Now, mind you, if you're going based on skin color at the time, it changed a bit.
There's questions whether or not he bleached it or it was a skin disorder or whatever. Or
whether it was from the Pepsi incident or whatever. But the thing is that it's the truth. It's the truth. He got his hair literally caught on fire during a show that was sponsored by Pepsi. It's what happened, and then he had to have the surgeries done, and then he had the whole album with the mask, the bandages around his face and all. But he was not only a performer, but he was so successful. If the country was so systemically racist, a black man, granted, skin had changed a little bit, but still was a black man. He's still a black man.
He's still a black man.
If he were to fill out a job if he was going to fill out a job form and they'd asked him what color, what his race was, he would check black. Okay.
Yep.
All right. In today's society, he would get a raise because of it. But the point is that he would be described as black, and he is the reigning champion of sales for record albums.
Yes.
Now, that being said, going back to your point about the pop culture thing, right? How could that happen if the system was rigged against them?
Exactly. It couldn't happen.
It wouldn't happen. The system wouldn't allow it to happen. Yep.
All right, the camera's back on.
Yes.
Continue.
So we can say, this is why the argument is so sound, and there's other reasons. We're going to get to a couple other different ones other than just pop culture. But that's how we can validate that the system was not rigged against any other race in the country at that time. It just wasn't. You have people who were Hispanic origin, right? Indian origin,
Yep.
Asian origin, descent, that are here now, that came here during the 80s and 90s,
Yes, they did.
okay? Have worked hard, come over here legally, okay? Not illegally, legally. Some maybe even were illegal, granted amnesty during the time period that they were given amnesty, whatever.
Yep.
Okay? But they work very hard.
Oh yeah.
And they see these people who are just flocking over here illegally, trying to get
free
over
stuff.
here to get free stuff and free money and all this stuff, and they're up in arms. They aren't happy about it. So that should tell you, and that's their own race against their own race. They're not looking at it across the lines and going, "Oh no, that's not racism." They're calling their own people out and saying,
Oh, but wait.
"Look, come over here legally, just like we did. Don't water down our
But don't forget.
papers."
Don't forget. Candace Owen, a black woman, is a white supremacist.
That's today's
I know. I'm just saying.
racist.
Well, hey, according to now, Abraham Lincoln was the most racist president ever, and that was said by Creepy Joe.
So, but here's some other things for thought, right? School, right?
Oh wait, we got a producer flagging now. What do you got?
So there was one I was thinking about too. Affirmative action. If we were in a systemic racism, then there's no possible way you could only have black people get better education
Right.
for just being black.
Exactly.
And here's some things. I want to throw in here. We were talking about this. There's some really pivotal things. So when we say racism died in the 90s, we mean that systemic racism, the actual hatred of another human being based solely on the color of their skin, and creating systems that will prevent them from being able to have the same merited success as every other human being on the planet, that, my friend, died in the 90s. If you want to pull up something like, and this is arguments that I've had with people, who are like, well, redlining is a racist thing that was done. Yes, back in the 70s, right? It was done back in the 70s.
Wait.
And it died in the 80s.
And they
through policy.
renamed it in the 90s.
And then they did something. What did they do?
Section 8 housing.
Correct. The Democrats created something known as Section 8 housing. And now what Section 8 housing is basically it's affordable housing, income-based living, right? Which strictly is only pointed at a lower income or poverty level of demographic, which unfortunately, and I'm not saying this to be any other thing, but sadly, that 12.6% of the population that is black, a large portion of that population is also in poverty.
Now, there are white people. There are. There are trailer parks full of TikTok.
But that's not Section 8 housing. That's just a plot of land that they just took over, okay?
Squatters' rights.
Yeah. So, but Section 8 housing is government-based funded buildings that are created, okay? And then they are now living in these districts, in these areas. And then they build schools around them. And then those schools become not very well cared for or well taken care of. And they don't get the same education. And they don't get the same treatment. And they don't have the same access and the same things. And then they go, oh, well, we need to help these people out.
When they're the ones that created the whole thing.
You created the system.
Yeah, see, that's
so
the
who's the systemic racist? The ones that are sitting there saying, don't do that. Let them earn their way. Let them learn. Let them live in the communities where they are. And let them be able to have the same successes versus trying to put them in a lower level income community style, and then, by the way, build everything around them to keep them in that district. It's modern day redlining. It's
not just modern day redlining. It's known as the democratic slavery plantation. They keep you in a spot where you owe them your vote because they're giving you all this stuff. And it's a handout, and I feel sorry.
You can't get off.
Yeah, I feel sorry for the people that have grown up on that because it is so hard to get off it. It is so hard to be like,
it's hard to quit the government cheese.
Yeah, it really is. And again, that system was dead. They brought it back in the 90s. They started bringing it back in the 90s. Mm-hmm. Towards the end of the 90s, this whole big boom for Section 8 housing, all this other stuff because people need help. The economy's bad.
Yeah, welfare's been around. It's not like
that's been around, but it's gotten worse. And I mean the education system. Yeah, these schools suffered because they were putting in teachers who kept preaching this stuff over and over again. Yeah. I can tell you for certain. In my school, I grew up in the town that I grew up in the school that I grew up in the district. okay, that went to my high school. There were 5 districts actually that went to my high school. It was a pretty even split on blacks and whites. Okay, there were everybody. It was very well melting pot-ish type of school.
Yeah.
Okay,
Same here.
I rode on a bus where I was the only white kid on a bus to school. Didn't care.
I think
Okay,
that might have been me too.
okay. So
I grew up in P section.
this is, you know, nobody really cared. And yeah, were there racist people? There's always been racist people.
Yeah, and
because
there's
again,
still
like I
might be.
said in the beginning, racism, when you take it down to core, all these isms and ists that everybody loves to throw around, and these phobias that they're using the word wrong to begin with. Okay,
We're going to correct you. There's always been prejudice people.
well, I'm going to break it down. It's
No,
all,
there's still actual racists.
there's still actual
there's-
racists.
There's still actual
There's
racists. There's
always
still
been-
a
there's
neo-Nazi
always- as
movement
long
that's
as there's-
around, but there's very small in numbers.
As
okay?
long as there is
Anybody
hate.
see a Klansman around lately? You seen one down the street? Have you seen them walking around with a cross on their back, putting it on somebody's front lawn? Have you seen that?
No.
Has any human being that was born in the 80s actually seen a real Klansman other than in Blazing Saddles? Because you haven't. I guarantee it.
But
You've never
I will
seen
say,
it. You
I will
haven't
say,
witnessed it.
hold
It's
on, hold
never
on. I
happened.
will say, and what I'm saying about the isms and this, I'm going back to the point that I made in the beginning of this thing. It is nothing but hate. The absolute foundation of any ism, ist, phobia, whatever, is hatred. There's always going to be hatred in the world
Yeah.
until it is corrected via salvation through
Everybody
Christ.
needs Christ. That's it.
End of story.
Yeah.
There's always going to be that hatred,
We're all-
and we're always going to deal with it. But systemically,
Which basically
it was
then-
gone.
Again, basically, and what is systemic? That is basically stating that the system is rigged against you. You don't have a shot because it's rigged. If that's the case, then
If
please
the
explain
s-
to me how all
If
of
the
these individuals
system
were
is
able to
so
pull themselves
rigged,
out.
if the system is so rigged, how can a kid, doesn't matter where he grows up in this country, doesn't matter what his skin color is, doesn't matter who his parents are, doesn't matter anything, can bust his hump from Pee Wee League football all the way to college and can get a college, not only get his college paid for, get a degree, and make millions of dollars in the NFL no matter what your skin color is. I'm sorry, there is no, if we were holding down anybody, if the systems were that racist, NFL would still be all white.
And you want to know something?
And would be boring.
Hold on, I'm going to tell you. I'm going to prove to you how inverse it is now. Because let's pull some current event news, right? Sounds like a good idea.
Oh, are you
Right?
going to bring up our favorite kneeler?
If the system was so, if the system that we described, right, was the NFL of the 90s and the 2000s. Now, right, the NFL has shifted to the point where because you're black, because you're an activist, because you made a lot of noise, because you kneeled, because you suck, literally as a quarterback, you can't actually play the game.
Well,
and you
what was
aren't
the quarterback
good,
that got
and you were
first string
back-
over him?
And you were a backup, and you still couldn't get a job, and you got fired, and you couldn't find a job on a team that needed help, teams that actually could have used anybody better than the guys that they were throwing out there, and they still didn't sign this guy. This guy gets signed after, by the way, creating a video. What was the? It was a documentary.
A documentary
about
that
how
NFL being slavery.
how the NFL Combine is basically a slave auction. This person should not even have a shot, not even a chance. Not because he's black, not because he's
Which he's
terrible, not because of any of those things, but because you literally have made them, the NFL, look bad. If you go to your job right now, I don't care what color your skin is, go to your job right now and tell every person that comes in the door how terrible your boss is and how terrible your company is and how horrible the things that they do in your job is and how there's a guy in the back who licks the deli meats before he puts them in the bed. Like, you go ahead and stand at the front door and then walk in and say, oh, I'm keeping my job, right? You're, good luck. Good luck with that. But here's how bad it is in the nation. He gets signed.
By Nike.
He gets a job. He shouldn't have a job. He shouldn't even be close to
Oh yeah,
having a
didn't he?
job.
Isn't he like some backup for
He's playing for New England.
as a backup as like?
He got signed to New England. I don't know how that's true. I almost want to believe it's an April Fool's joke. I think it might be. I hope it is.
No.
Because he shouldn't be. Is it true? He's been signed. Okay, so I'm not.
But as a
I wasn't-
backup, I'm correct.
Yes.
He hasn't made first string. He still has to try out. They're still in camp. But the point is that how? How is that, if this is a systemically racist country, how does that man get a job on an NFL team? He only got the job, ladies and gentlemen, because he's black. And that's the only reason why.
And it's New England. And it's New England, the most liberal area of the country.
Nobody else would have that job, ever. If you take Colin Kaepernick and you put in Nick Foles, and Nick Foles did all the same things, I guarantee you he'll never have another job. He wouldn't even have an analyst job. He wouldn't even have a clipboard holding job. Okay?
Right.
He wouldn't even be able to be the water boy.
Hold
It
on.
wouldn't happen. It just wouldn't happen. Oh, what?
Hold on.
What? Hold on, what?
You have a whole like a thing that you can actually compare it to. Look what they did to Rogan, or Rogan. Wait.
Oh, you mean when everybody tried to cancel Joe Rogan on Spotify?
Yeah.
Yeah, that worked out real well.
No, not Rogan. The coach.
The coach.
He used to be Tampa Bay's coach.
Oh, when they got rid of what's his face? Oh, we all had Gruden.
Gruden.
John
Gruden. Tampa Bay's old coach, and he was there.
Yeah, that was when the if you did something 15 years ago and there's evidence of it, we're going to use it against you just to have our way with you.
Because you don't line up with their politics.
But this is
that
proof.
was 15 years
So
ago.
this is the proof, right? I have many friends of different races, and
Yep.
one of my best friends,
Mm.
okay,
We
whose
love
name I'm going to leave out because I don't have permission to talk about him in this forum. I didn't ask him permission, but he'll know his name. He has been my best friend for over a quarter of a century.
Fantastic man.
He's a wonderful human being, and I love him to death. And his choices are his choices. They're not exactly the same as mine.
No.
But it doesn't mean that we can't exist and coexist together. But he has told me some of the most racist of jokes known to mankind that I have laughed so hard at. And I go, I can't say that. I can't say that. I'm not allowed to say that because that's really bad if I say it. But you say it, and it's just like, oh, okay, I guess so, right? But he can say it because it's a joke, right? But here's the catch. That happens, that might happen maybe, I don't know, 10 years ago, so whatever, a joke, and I laughed at it. If I go back in the Wayback Machine now, and that somehow got transcribed on paper, and I go and I have a job interview, somebody can pull that up on me and say, oh, by the way, you're a racist here because you laughed at a joke. That you didn't even make the joke.
Yeah, I mean, it's absolutely. Thank God Twitter and Facebook didn't exist back when we were kids. Oh my goodness.
Oh, you kidding? We would have. If Facebook and Twitter existed back in the 90s, we'd have hacked it.
Yeah, we would.
Okay, let's face it. We'd have hacked it. You want to know what would have happened? All right, Facebook and Twitter in the 90s would have looked like
Thank
this.
God. Well, thank God AOL is no more because they have all that stuff probably backed up on servers.
Here's what, I'm not going to lie. This is a fact. If Twitter and Facebook existed in the 90s, here's what the 90s kids of that generation would have done. We would have hacked it, and we would have been making our own icons. We'd have been changing the fonts. We'd have been making them different colors. We'd have been putting different sound effects in, and that's it. Nothing else would have changed. It still would have been Twitter and Facebook, but that's all we would have done. And we'd have been like,
And
oh
for
yeah, look what I did. Huh, check that out. Cool,
and
huh?
for those
Yeah, rockin' awesome, dude.
For those of you who
By the
think
way,
we're
yes,
kidding,
that was the 90s, FYI.
for those of you who think we're kidding, that's what we did to our school computers.
Yep. there was a chat program called ICQ, and you could literally.
Oh my goodness, ICQ.
And there was an audio program called Winamp, and you literally could recraft the entire skin of the sound player so that you could make it look like whatever you wanted. It still just played the MIDI files. It didn't do anything special, but we made it special because that's what we did in the 90s. And then they made MySpace, and we were like, it's for us. And then Facebook came and ruined everything.
Yeah, because Facebook made it too easy.
And they're still ruining everything today, ladies and gentlemen. Yay!
Hey, but we do have some good news. There is now an African that is 10% shareholder of Twitter.
Did you know that? Yep.
Yep, Elon Musk now owns 10% of Twitter.
Oh, wait, you thought he was going to be a black man? Racist. You're racist. Just assumed African was black, huh? Didn't you? Oh yeah. You really forgot all about the pot smoker too, huh? I talk about a pot smoking African. Everybody immediately goes, "Wait, what? A pot smoking African? You're so racist." I'm just talking about Dave Matthews.
Right?
Oh yeah, you forgot he's from
you know
South
what?
Africa, huh? Oh yeah.
And here's
Catching a hat.
I mean, all that we're saying here, like education, you want to talk about, and here's the thing, you want to know when racism came back in. Okay, we had 10 years, a little bit more, of where,
From our generation.
where it was good.
Yep.
I mean, yeah, we had a couple school shootings in Columbine, but that was white dude killing white dude.
Yep.
Okay, there
Pretty
was
much.
really no rape. I mean, Rodney King happened in the late 80s, early 90s, but really after
I don't
that,
remember when that was. I know I was young. I don't.
after that, there really was. What we did have is terror attacks on this country, because we had the Oklahoma City bombing. We had other things that brought our country closer together. We had major stories of all people, from all races, from all things, that brought us together in many different things. We had patriotism that was through the roof.
Yep.
Okay, and then ended about the 2000s. People started waking up, getting woke. I say waking up. They really weren't waking up. They were going to sleep. They started getting woke, and then 9/11 happens.
And everybody became a patriot again.
Everybody became a patriot again.
And everybody hated Muslims
Yep.
for some reason, even though that's not exactly what
That
the problem was.
wasn't
It
the
was
problem.
Just the terrorist.
It was the Al Qaeda. It was Bin Laden.
Mountain Man.
Mountain Man. Yep. And then we had a few years. I mean, everybody made fun of George W. Bush. Shoot, even those of us who voted for him, we made fun of him. I mean, it was good times.
Had to catch
And
those
then we
evildoers.
bring in a
Do
guy.
evil.
They say it's the first black president. Sure, if you're gonna call him black.
Well,
but-
I mean,
But anyway,
he was the first black.
he was the first black president. Okay, he comes in his first.
Sorry, African American president. That's how it's recorded.
Uh,
I'm not. Hey, look, that's true. Look it up.
Oh, yeah.
First African American president.
Okay, but his second term is when this all really started going downhill. When he started calling white people racist and homophobic, and Christians need to control themselves, and he started using
Like to their guns and their Bible.
yeah, he started going after. He sent the IRS after the Tea Party to go after them because he viewed them as just another version of the KKK.
Well, it wasn't just that. It was the ideology that he separated the party of the Democrat and the Republican into racial confines.
Yep.
And when you do that, you actually spreaded racism, whether you wanted to or not. Because now,
Oh no, he wanted to.
oh well, I don't know.
I do, because if we're divided in that way, then we can be controlled.
That's true in that sense, and I'll give you that. But what I'm saying is I don't know if the intent was racism. I believe the intent was to control the population,
Control the votes.
masses,
Control
the
the
votes. And so, but what it ended up doing is it ended up creating divisions through political viewpoints. And this really actually is a good segue, because here's what is today, right? We go back to what we started this on of, well, now you just get called racist because, well, you don't share the same point of view I do.
Yep.
Well, the real start of that was from the Obama administration, because now the Obama administration created racism through you're not on the same party line as me. And so now you are the party of the racist.
Yep.
So if you're a Republican, you're a racist. End of discussion. It doesn't matter actually what color your skin is. Democrats are a race of people, and Republicans are a race of people.
They made the political
And
parties
now
the race.
those are the races. And so now when you go up and you get your little sticker and you vote and you come out, if you didn't vote according to the way they wanted you to vote, well, why did you vote that way? Well, because I believe he's the better candidate, because he's got the best interest for our country. He's going to do the right things to get our country on the right track. Oh, you're a racist.
Yep.
Really? But Donald Trump is a racist. How?
How?
When
in the 90s, here's
in
the
the
thing.
90s, every rapper known to mankind rapped about being Donald Trump because he was so wealthy and lived such a high life.
Oh, wait,
Are you kidding me?
And
How
in the
is
90s,
he racist?
and in the 90s, every time Reverend Jesse Jackson ran for office, his biggest donor was Donald Trump. Okay? If he's racist, he's not donating to his cause. Do you know who else he gave a ton of money to? Al Sharpton, back when he was fat. Now he's skinny and angry.
Biggest race baiter in the world.
Yeah, biggest race baiter in the world. We even called Donald Trump racist. Yet has since the 80s had Donald Trump's phone number on his speed dial for any time he needed money.
I bet you any amount of money. The day he did that, he literally picked up the phone afterwards and be like, "Hey, Don, yo, yeah, hey."
I'm just kidding.
I'm just kidding, right? I'm just doing it for the show, right? Yeah, okay, all right, we cool. All right, bye. Like, he did, because it isn't about it. When it comes to Sharpton, I'm sorry. If
He's a race-baiting money monger.
If you take Al Sharpton and you listen to him and go, "Oh, he's super serious," you are watching one of the best acting bits known to mankind.
You know what he reminds me
He
of?
is such an actor.
Do you know who he reminds me of when he's talking? He reminds me of every WWE promo.
I can't argue. I cannot argue. And I haven't watched any
I'm just waiting for him to tell me that the cream of the crop is going to rise up.
Oh,
I mean,
that one's one of my favorite promos. I know that promo inside out. That's my favorite wrestler.
Randy
of all time.
Savage.
Macho Man Randy
But
Savage. That's
seriously, everything. And this is the thing. Every rapper wanted to be Donald Trump, and they could get him in movies. They could get him in the music videos. He didn't care. He was having fun. He was just a playboy.
Yep.
That's really what he was. He was a ultra rich, successful playboy, and could have any woman he wanted, and he did. Okay, and everybody wanted to be him. Song after song after song mentioning him by black artists, rap artists, rock artists, whatever, saying that they wanted to be like him. If he was really that racist, they wouldn't want to be like him. It doesn't matter how rich he was. But you know who was racist? Who was racist? Scroll. Why don't you look up in the Google or the YouTube? Okay, go look up
President Joe Biden.
President Joe Biden talking to Clarence Thomas during him being brought in for the Supreme Court.
Basically, what they just did to Brown, or what is it, Jackson?
Ketanji Brown or whatever.
Ketanji Brown Jackson.
Yeah, the exact opposite.
Yeah, so, this woman who's coming in who can't identify as a woman.
Well, no. She can't. It's not that she can't identify.
She
as
doesn't
one.
know how to
She
define-
can't tell you how to define a woman.
what a woman is. even
Because
though
she's
she
not a
is
biologist.
But anyway, but she's going to become a Supreme Court justice. That's really
Yeah.
swell.
So anyway,
but they've been grilling her for a little while.
when the Democrats grilled Clarence Thomas,
Oh, yeah.
Joe Biden himself, our former Vice President Joe Biden, back when he actually had less hair than he does now, and tell me how that happened. Yes, I stole that from you, Steven Crowder. I hope you hear it.
But you're not stealing. It's fact.
It's fact.
It's just
funny.
fact.
So
You literally see the man he's on there. He has less hair than he does now.
He was reading a quote from somebody who
Apparently
was
he has a
racist.
reverse growing problem.
He was reading a quote from somebody who is racist, and he said the N-word, and not
Not
only
once,
did he say it,
But twice.
and
with
he
the hard R.
with the hard R, right at him. Right at him. And you're going to tell me that Joe Biden isn't a massive racist, especially when he talks about you can't go anywhere, you can't go into any 7-Eleven without seeing an Indian. I mean, come on. These are things that he actually said.
And here's the thing. I want to point out again the proof of the lack of systemic racism, because here you have two white guys standing in a room, right? Sitting in a room.
Sitting in a room. I'm not standing.
And we are referring to a very derogatory word used to really inhumanely describe black individuals
Yep.
as the N-word. We aren't going to use
You know why
the
it's
word.
called the N-word, right?
We don't want to use the N-word. Do you know why we don't use the word?
Because it's wrong.
Because we were raised that the word was wrong. We were
Yep.
told by our parents that it's a derogatory word that's not to be used. Even though I grew up in a community full of very black people that would go outside, play basketball, and every single one of them would refer to themselves and each other with said N-word.
With the
But me,
with
the
soft
one
A.
white
With
guy,
the soft A.
the one white guy on the court, milk toast over here, couldn't say. I'm pulling some history here.
Personal history.
You good? All right. So this is
Okay.
personal history because I used to play basketball a lot when I was a kid, and when you live in a all black,
Still can't jump.
when you all black, I didn't have to jump, right? Because I could shoot the three. Aha, right? So I would go out in my development. I had a basketball court in my development, and I would go out with my friend, and we would go shoot, and I would play. And I was actually telling the story today, and we go out there one day just to go shoot, and there's a bunch of kids there, all black. Again, only white guy there. And they pick teams. Guess who gets picked last? The white kid. Okay? And then we start playing a game, and 5-on-5, and we're full court, and we're playing, and I get the ball, and I pass it, and I get the ball, and I pass it. And it gets to a point where the game becomes very 4-on-5, where the one white kid standing at the top of the key has nobody near him. And the guy who's down in the front has got 3 guys on him. And he tosses the ball over, and I'm standing there, and I just go in the net. White boy can shoot! White boy can shoot! You get on it! White boy can shoot! Now I say that to say, I can't say, black guy can shoot! Black guy can shoot! I can't do that, right? Because I'd be, what?
Racist.
That's right, I'd be racist. But they can say that about me. Now, was I offended? No. I didn't care. I was fine. Because it didn't matter. Because it was having fun. Playing basketball with a bunch of kids that we didn't know each other.
And trash talking
and
was
having
part
fun.
of the game.
Now here's the funny part, right? The next day, we go back out. And they're back. And now they want to play another game. And now they want to pick teams. And the guy who found out that day, who was on the other team, found out I could shoot from the 3, says, I got little Stockton. First pick. And here's the point. Was I treated with racism in that instance?
No.
Yes, I was.
Well, yeah, in the beginning.
Because
yeah.
they judged me based solely on the color of my skin. They thought that I couldn't play basketball because I was a white, short kid and I didn't have any jump and I didn't have the skills, I didn't have the athletics, I didn't know how to play. Right? They immediately judged me based on the color of the skin. Now, why? Because basketball is predominantly dominated by what color skin of athlete?
Black, currently.
Okay? That's it.
We're going to stop you. They judged you by a stereotype.
No, they judged me by my skin color.
A stereotype.
A stereotype that white people can't jump. Based
Right.
on a movie by Woody Harrelson and
dang it.
Wesley Snipes.
Wesley Snipes.
Okay?
They judged you by a
They
stereotype.
judged me by a stereotype. White men can't jump. If you're not familiar with
And
the movie,
what is
it
a
was
stereotype?
it's something that is sometimes mostly true.
It is a
It
common
can be
fact that is widely known to be true.
Right. Like a stereotype that black people generally usually like watermelon.
Or fried chicken.
But it's true. I mean, honestly.
But I like fried chicken too,
I
so
mean,
we're
I
good.
do. I like watermelon and fried chicken. But I mean, if you have black people come over to a barbecue and you have fried chicken and watermelon, they're going to be happy because they like that. Generally speaking, that's not racist. That's just a stereotype. But I agree with her in a sense. There is a stereotype or a stigma that white people can't jump or can't play basketball because it's just not in their athletic gene, right?
Yeah.
Compared to a black person who's much taller, much more athletic, can jump higher, so they excel in the sport, right? But I can play basketball, and I did play well. So they judged me based on the color of my skin. Now, that stereotype turns into racism, right, when it becomes deemed as what?
Well, hate.
Correct. Now, I didn't think that they were hating on me.
No, they're
I
just
didn't see
talking
them.
trash.
I didn't think they were hating me or saying things that were hurtful towards me. So I didn't see it as racist. But here's the problem. Today,
Oh, if you did that now,
it's hate speech.
somebody
it's racism.
would be looking for their safe space.
Right. It's hate speech. It's racism. So this is where we are today, and this is why we are standing on the platform in this forum in this argument, going. Racism died in the 90s.
It died.
The thing that
They
you guys
just
are doing
resurrected
now,
it.
The thing you guys are doing now, the things you're trying to make racist and make people feel is racist, isn't racism at all.
It's well,
It's not.
it's not. But they're changing the definition of the word.
It's party politics.
Yep.
Okay. It's party politics.
It's fear mongering.
It's fear mongering. It's borderline ridiculousness on the side of like the other types of racism against LGBTQ plus.
Well, that's not that's not isms. That's an obia.
All right.
That's a phobia.
But
they don't know what the word phobia means.
But you say you're transphobic, that makes you a racist. It's not. You're not even transphobic. I just think that you.
For it to be a phobia, you must be deathly afraid of it, and it scares you, and you won't even leave your house.
Right.
I am not afraid of trans. Period. I'm not transphobic. I'm not afraid of them.
Not
I don't hate them either.
I'm not homophobic, I'm not transphobic, I'm
what
not
clothes
this,
you
not
decide to
that.
wear is you, and who you decide to be with is you do you, boo boo. But I
Some
ain't
people like
doing
Ken
it.
dolls, some people like Barbie dolls, some people like Ken and Barbie clothes. I don't care. It's up to you. Do you?
Some people like to be a non-binary
Some
wooden
people feel
toaster,
like
and
a
I will
nut.
still love you.
Some people, sometimes you feel like a nut,
Sometimes you don't.
sometimes you don't. Sometimes you belong in California.
Oy vey.
What?
They're actually doing.
They're real estate.
Well, no. Because now California, they've actually put in, what's it called again? Not appropriation.
Are you talking about like giving black people money?
Yeah,
Reparations?
that's what you're saying. Yeah, they've actually put it in the code in the law for people who can prove
Oh, well, then you know
that
what
they were genetically that they are a genetic descendant of a slave that you can get reparations.
Hey, you know what that means?
What?
We're gonna get our stab at Murphy for the day. I mean, it's gonna happen here too because
Yes,
after
it
all,
is.
he wants to be like California.
Oh, Trader Murphy! I can't wait till that man
Yeah.
stubs his toe and
We
falls
still
down a
don't
flight
like
of
you,
stairs.
dude. Even though you've gone all quiet and you're all hiding in your mansions, we still don't like you. We
Right?
still don't like
We
you.
don't like you.
We don't like your dumb
So-
stupid smile. We don't like you.
I hope in this episode, in this almost hour, I've had fun talking about all this stuff from the 90s. I hope within this almost hour that we have actually showed you how pop culture and other things that were going on in the 90s prove that systemic racism was dead. Everything that is going on now was recreated and resurrected during the end of the Obama administration.
Yep.
And you can point to it then. And it just got worse with Trump, and it just got worse with everything else.
Yep.
We were a country that just didn't care. You do you, I do me. Our biggest saying in the 90s was, we'll just have to agree to disagree. Or, sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me.
Yep.
Apparently, if I sneeze in the wrong direction, I broke your ankle. But this is why we continue. This is things that we are going to go moving on, talking about in this season. We are going to be bringing up different things of what it means to be an American. What are the values of America that are supposed to be carried by us? And I need you guys to see this, to understand it, that the racism was gone, because the minute we stop believing the lies of corporate America and the lies of the media and the SJWs, the minute we get back to uniting as Americans, no matter what, and becoming that one nation under God again, the minute we do that, they lose all power. As long as we're divided, we are going to crumble. We are going to crumble hard.
And here's my free gift to everybody is, here's the way to fix it. Stop listening to the racist.
Yep.
Stop giving them credit. Stop giving them
voting
credence.
for them.
Stop electing them. And you can tell. You don't act like you can't.
Hey,
you can.
if you don't vote for Joe Biden, you ain't black.
Right? No, I'm not talking about Joe. I'm really talking about the real problems of the nation right now. Because as much as Joe Biden is barely sentient and is a problem and a national threat right now because he's not sentient, but
he's a puppet.
He's really not the problem, because Joe Biden didn't win the election because he's Joe Biden.
Nope.
Joe Biden won the election because of the media, and you guys listened to them. You
And
guys
you allowed
listened to
them-
the false narratives. You guys listened to the MSNBCs and the CNNs and all these
Even
all
the
these
Fox
outlets
News.
that lied and told you things. And these are the guys now that are really the problem. And so places like here, on the stoop, right?
The corner
Or
of Church and State, where there
people
is
like,
no separation.
People like Steven Crowder, people like Ben Shapiro, people like
The Hodge twins.
And I'm not even talking about just those. And there's some liberal, there's some left wing networks, right? There's some left wing guys out there. You can go Joe Rogan. Joe Rogan's middle. He's not conservative. He takes all people.
He's
on,
left
right?
leaning middle. He's a left leaning centrist.
And I want you guys to understand. You guys need to start paying attention to these voices. These are the people you need to start listening to, because the real truth, not the fake truth that's coming out of these networks, but the real truth is here. And the real truth is, we're going to tell you is, guess what? You go and you poll this entire country, I guarantee you'd be hard pressed to find a real racist out there. Like I said already. Where's the Klansman? Have you seen one? Where's David Burke? I haven't seen him. He's hiding. You know why? Because he knows this country won't buy his garbage.
Yep.
You can't pander to it anymore. Nobody wants to even associate with them anymore. Literally, the only thing I can think of is they just want to go downstairs in the basement and play Dungeons and Dragons, because that's what their names sound like. Okay, they don't actually sound like they're going to go. They don't sound like they're going to go burn a cross. They just sound like they want to roll dice. And so here's the facts. The facts is that they really don't exist anymore. But you're made to believe they exist because they're telling you they exist.
Yep.
And so if you tune out and you stop listening to them and you listen to the people that are telling you the truth, you might find out that the real truth of it is, there is no racism. It doesn't exist.
Well, this has been another episode of the Church and State, right here on the corner where there is no separation. Right here on the stoop, my man. Things are coming. Things are going to change.
Bill.
We're huh?
Bill.
Huh.
I'm just a Bill.
But no, listen, if you want to find me, if you want to talk, go into the bio of the podcast on whatever you're watching it on, click the link tree, and you can follow there. You know, all the different ways, the website,
All the likes.
all the
Smash
likes.
them, hit them.
You can send
Punch the rumbles.
questions to the email, whatever. You can
Punch
go through
the
there.
rumble button.
That's where you
Punch
go for me. Punch the rumble.
Punch the rumble button.
Hit the link and go that way through the link tree, and you can find everything there. My brother over here,
You just go through it. It's easier that way.
No, you can go to www.streamsoflife.com.
Oh yeah, like you could record a sermon, put it up there, right?
Shush. You can listen to
That's
all
an inside
the
joke.
You can listen to old sermons. You can also send him emails.
Okay.
You can ask questions.
Yep.
And if you happen to be in southern New Jersey on a Sunday,
Halfway between Philadelphia and Atlantic City.
around 10ish in the morning,
Yep.
and you go on the website, pull up the
It's a
address.
really
you can come visit.
specific area, by the way.
And you can pull up the website and get the address, and you can come and worship with us on Sunday.
Amen.
We would be glad to have you and everything else.
Yep.
And so we look forward to seeing you over the rest of the season. We are going to dive into things. We're going to have fun, and I hope you have a blessed night.
See you in 2 weeks.
See you in 2 weeks. Peace.
God bless.
In America, your freedom ain't free. In America, got soldiers dying overseas. So America,